I'm Jimmy Whitworth. I'm Professor of International Public Health at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine.
My name is James Soka Moses. I am a medical doctor. I worked in two general hospitals, Redemption Hospital and ELW Hospital located in Monrovia. I work mostly in medical emergency and I see patients of all ages and all infections.
A public health emergency of international concern is the World Health Organization's highest level of alert. The most recent have been Ebola in West Africa and Zika in Latin America. In the case of Ebola, public health emergency of international concern was called because we had three countries neighbouring each other in West Africa where this outbreak was out of control, where the facilities able to control it simply were not there, and there was an absolute need to have an international response.
The Ebola outbreak in West Africa actually reached Monrovia for the very first time in March, the 30th of March 2014. I was the lead clinician and caring for patients but also supervising the rest of the staff. Monrovia was also the biggest epicenter for the outbreak in Liberia. In this unit, we had about a total of 125 staff, and about 40 of these were professional health workers. The rest of them were students, college students, and unprofessional people in the community who came and wanted to help. So it was very challenging to provide quality care for patients, but at the same time being able to keep staff safe. We also encourage them to avoid staying more than 1 hour in the Ebola treatment unit. I can tell you that was impossible to maintain, to ensure, because we had so many patients to attend to. At worst, we spent up to 4 hours in the Ebola treatment unit.
The school really has two main roles in outbreak response. Firstly, we're a major research institution, so that we gain in knowledge, we're better able to respond to that outbreak and better able to respond and prevent future outbreaks as well. But also individual members of staff often will volunteer and join other agencies that are responding to the outbreaks. For example, with the Ebola outbreak, members of staff from the school went and worked with Save the Children, with Médecins Sans Frontières, Public Health England and other agencies. Despite the fact that there were more than 10,000 cases that occurred, the amount of information we got out of how to respond to an outbreak, and particularly how best to clinically treat patients with Ebola, has been pitifully small. And that has been because we didn't have predefined research in place before we started.
With the information people had at the time that Ebola had a fatality rate of 90%, the natural response was people expect that you would die the next day. So the only calls you got was people trying to find out whether you're still alive or you're dead. Nobody wanted to interact with you. These were very challenging times for me personally. Suicidal thoughts start to run through your mind. You feel shame, you feel very guilty, you think you're worthless, you're no longer of value to society. And then to make it even more challenging to protect the rest of my family, I had to stay away from my children. I have two kids. My daughter Dara is 4 years old and my son Jesse is 7 years old. This was a world of your own. Yeah.
Within outbreak response generally, the evidence base behind what we do is actually pretty limited. That's perhaps not surprising. It is difficult to do research in emergency situations, but it's not impossible, and I think if we're going to improve our responses for the future, we really do need to conduct research. I can say confidently that there will be future outbreaks and emergencies. What I can't tell you is what they're going to be, where and when. That's in their nature. They are unpredictable, but they will always be with us, and we're never going to be able to completely prevent those.
There were many lessons learned from this outbreak. If we are given the support, we are given the training, our laboratories are improved, we are assisted in developing the public health systems, we can do better.
I think we are globally better prepared for outbreaks than we ever have been before. But it's been a slow process and there's still an awful long way to go.
I'm doing a master's degree in control of infectious diseases. As a medical doctor, you want to be this expert physician who gives the best medicines, who do the best physical exam. Ebola, without treatment, of course, Ebola doesn't have any cure. You lost your capabilities as a medical doctor. That has changed everything for me and the way I see people, not just patients, but everyone. I've changed my resolve to spend the rest of my life offering selfless service to community, to people.
I'm Dr. James Logan. I'm a senior lecturer in medical entomology here at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. Now, when you go on holiday, you always seem to find that some people get bitten more than others by mosquitoes, and previous work that we've done has revealed that this is all to do with the way we smell. People who are unattractive to mosquitoes produce natural repellents. It's almost as if their body has a natural defense against mosquitoes. In this study that we've just completed, we've taken that one step further and we've looked at whether the trait for being attractive or unattractive is controlled genetically, and we've done that using a study with twins. What we found was that identical twins are very similar in terms of how attractive they are to mosquitoes compared to unidentical twins. So today we're recreating the experiment, and we have a set of twins from the Twin Research Unit. The twins are going to put their hands inside what we call a wind tunnel, a Y-shaped tube, which blows air down the tube, and we release mosquitoes that fly upwind towards the odour from their hands. If they find the twins attractive, they'll fly towards them. If they find them repellent, they'll fly away from them. And what we're hoping to see is that we'll have an equal distribution of mosquitoes, so that we'll be able to see that they're equally attractive, essentially.
So we know that we're genetically identical. Yeah, we've got the same colour eyes, same colour hair. Pretty much everything's identical. Yeah, and now we know that we smell the same to mosquitoes.
Now that we know that your level of attractiveness to mosquitoes is controlled genetically, the next stage is to then identify the genes that are involved. And that might allow us to determine how much at risk a certain population is in a developing country, and that would have implications for controlling diseases like malaria or dengue. The other thing that we might be able to do, we could possibly develop a drug, a pill that you might take when you go on holiday that would cause your body to produce natural repellents and would minimise the need to actually put repellents on your skin. The next stage of the study is to identify the genes that are associated with how attractive you are to mosquitoes. But what we first have to do is collect body odour to work out which chemicals the mosquitoes can detect that makes us attractive or unattractive. And the way we do that is to contain people inside these silver thermal survival bags, which allows us to extract their odours and analyse them in the lab to work out which chemicals the mosquitoes can actually detect.
My name's Molly Williams, and I just graduated from the Global Health Policy course. I'm from the United States, and I started the program when I was living in South Sudan, and then I moved to Papua New Guinea, and then I moved back to the States, so it was a 3-year experience taking the program. I chose to enroll at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine because of its global, well-renowned reputation, and so for that, being a leader worldwide, I wanted to attend the university. I loved studying at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine international programs. I found its flexibility was perfect for me with my traveling schedule, and I was able to juggle moving between my full-time career and taking the courses and studying in the evenings and on the weekends, and the courses were excellent. I work with Oxfam, a global nonprofit, and currently I work in grants management, and I wanted to specialize further in the health sector. And I currently support 20 countries around the world, and so now I'll be better able to technically advise these teams in our programs. The advice I'd give to someone that's still studying is to keep building those personal relationships with the course directors, faculty, and fellow students. It's great to maintain that also after you've graduated. The graduation ceremony today was excellent. I actually went to the LSHTM graduation on Saturday, and now I'm here at the International Programs graduation, and I've enjoyed both tremendously. I'm very proud to be an alumni from the University of London, and I've already encouraged other people to enroll, my colleagues and friends that are interested in the field.
Please sit down. Good morning. Honored graduates and guests, colleagues and friends. It's a real privilege for me as the chairman of the Council for the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine to be able to welcome you to this very, very important ceremony. Before we get to the main events, I want to take a few minutes to congratulate the graduates. This is your day. This is your ceremony. You're the center of it. You who have successfully completed master's programs and those who are moving on to their doctoral degrees will be summoned one by one. I hope you fit up here, across the stage, to be presented personally with your well-deserved awards. When you do that, take a deep breath of pride because you will have earned it. We are especially delighted that so many of you have gotten to bring guests to participate in this occasion. And I know many of you have traveled a long, long way to be here, so thank you for that. There's a proverb that you can find in many, many African dialects that says, it takes a village to raise a child. That's a beautiful picture, and it really reflects a universal social reality. We all need strong networks to get anywhere, and the support of our families and friends and partners, sometimes with sacrifice on their part, have really been vital in your achieving the success that you celebrate today. So please join me in showing those guests our appreciation for them. When you leave this hall today, you will become members of another village that I think will be helpful, a special family of alumni working all around the world, armed with the things that they learned here. The world needs you right now in global health if you want to go. The challenges are huge, and there will be no shortage of work. We're very proud of our school and its work, from pioneering research in basic biology all the way to applications of complex public health interventions. From bench to bedside, anywhere in the world, we can make a real difference in people's lives. And finally, I would like to thank you all of you who are graduating and leaving us, for the contributions that you've made to the school. No good school doesn't learn from its students, and you'll have taught us many, many things in your time that will really help us in the days ahead. I hope you've also enjoyed being here, made valuable friendships, maybe even found a lifelong vocation, though that probably will take a little bit longer. In a time of post-truth and alternative facts, we really need people like you, people who have the intelligence to discern and share the hard truths that are the fruits of your study, the wise evidence you can collect that informs policy, and the humility to keep us mindful that our work is for real people who need us. However you choose to use what you learned here, we hope you will keep on being in touch with us, and we hope you will keep being a part of this very special global community, and bit by bit, working together with them to improve health everywhere. So thank you. I now will turn over to our Provost, Ann Mills, if we can get past it.
Thank you, Dame Marjorie, for officially opening this morning's ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite Professor Peter Piot, Director of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, to the lectern. Professor Piot.
Thank you, Dame Anne, and good morning, everybody. Whenever I meet alumni in many places in the world, I always ask them for some memories of their time at our school. And the nearly unanimous response is always, this was the best year of my life. And I hope that you feel the same. Maybe not today, but in a few years' time. And also I can tell you that we feel the same about every generation of students. Many of you were here during the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. Some of you were among the heroes, caring for highly contagious patients, involved in barriers and in community prevention. And what became a humanitarian crisis illustrated just how vulnerable societies remain to infectious diseases. And I'm immensely proud of the response of our school community, which volunteered in large numbers. And I'm very grateful to the many colleagues and students who worked hard in West Africa. Initially, to support caring for patients and epidemic control, but later also in groundbreaking research leading to the development of vaccines that work. And as you know, the exceptional nature of LSHTM's contribution was recognized by Times Higher Education and gave us the University of the Year award. Now, even if the award was given for our work on Ebola, it is because of our overall ethos, our strong science base, and our extensive global partnerships that allowed us our vigorous response to Ebola, as well as many other aspects of our work to have such an impact. It's this ethos that drives us, besides, of course, curiosity, which is the mother of science. It is the lifeblood of the school. It's about a commitment to excellence in everything we do, to equal opportunities for all, to tolerance for opinions and lifestyles, to open-mindedness about change, and optimism that quality science and education will lead to a better future for people everywhere. Unfortunately, we lost some really good colleagues last year. Professor Harrison Spencer, previous dean, and Professor Steve Long. And they were brilliant examples of what our school stands for. Just as both laureates of the Edwin Chadwick Medal are absolutely promoting the ethos of their school. Epidemic threats will undoubtedly continue to be a major global concern for the future, and I'm very pleased that we are now hosting the United Kingdom Public Health Response Team, which can be deployed within 48 hours anywhere in the world. However, people now die and suffer far more from various chronic conditions, from obesity to diabetes to dementia, partly due to aging, but also due to unhealthy lifestyles, bad diet, environmental pollution, and rapid urbanization. And for the first time outside war or societal collapse, there has been a reversal of progress in life expectancy in white men in the US because of these chronic conditions, added to drug abuse and violence. So we should never take for granted progress that we've made. In addition, our ecosystem is extremely fragile, and it's high time to embrace planetary health, which rightly stimulates that we must approach health and environment and society in a far more integrated way. And I'm very proud that our school, together with the Lancet, Andy Haynes and Richard Horton, have been pioneers for this new approach to health. Now, among all these shifts in health challenges, let's not lose a historic perspective. Because on average, life and health have never been better on our planet. Though averages obviously are irrelevant for those left behind. It's also then a paradox that at the same time many people have lost faith in progress, and hence long and vote for a return to an often mythical past. And the long-term consequences of political earthquakes in various parts of the world are unclear, but they definitely don't look promising. And it's clear that we cannot continue using only our old paradigms. Now, what does all this mean, this turmoil, political turmoil? What does this mean for us in science and in public health? This is certainly not a time to retreat into our academic cocoons or to accept the growing inequalities, which will probably be exacerbated by populist policies and politics. But as a start, universities should do research on what is going on in various parts of society. However, studying popular sentiment and populism is not enough. We must speak truth to power and show what the implications are and where we are heading if these trends continue. And it also means getting out of our own comfort zones and academic cocoon and be as critical of ourselves as we are sometimes of people who think differently. Now, all this means that the world that you, the new graduates, will be working in will most probably be quite different from now and when you were a student. And also, the world needs you more than ever, and there will be no shortage of challenges for you in the future. It also means that it's not going to be a straightforward trajectory. The idea that we sometimes teach here as well, that you can plan a career, a secure career in these uncertain times, is an illusion. It just doesn't work. So don't overplan, as you can end up missing opportunities along the way, and overplanning leads also to a life that will be less exciting. but be prepared. And I hope one of the things you have learned here is to look ahead and prepare while recognizing that life is always going to surprise us. Now, as Dame Marjorie said, from today you join a global family of alumni, a family of thousands working in over 180 countries, but united by a common mission. And we look forward to keeping in touch with you as your careers evolve, and we also look to you to support our school as we develop our research partnerships and educate future generations of students. This is not the end of your journey or our journey. And as President Nelson Mandela said, after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. So it's never over. So keep on climbing, always carrying with you the experience and values I hope you've gained during your time studying at the school. And never give up. Congratulations to everyone, and my best wishes for whatever comes next. Thank you.
It is at this point in the proceedings that we turn to our medal presentations. Sir Edwin Chadwick was one of the founders of modern public health. To honour Sir Edwin's life and work, the school has instituted a medal in recognition of outstanding contribution to public health. I call upon Professor Peter Piot to return to the lectern to read the citation for Dr. Richard Horton. Professor Peter Piot.
Thank you, Professor Mills. Well, today it gives me great pleasure to present the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine's Edwin Chadwick Medal to Dr. Richard Horton, the Editor-in-Chief of The Lancet. The Lancet, one of two of the most prestigious medical journals in the world. This morning's medal honors those who have advocated for changes to public health policy and practice based on research evidence, and those who have significantly raised the profile of public health. In both these respects, Dr. Richard Horton is a worthy winner. Please join me in congratulating Richard. Sir Edwin Chadwick, for whom the medal is named and whose name appears on the frieze of our school's Keppel Street building, one of the men who are there, was one of the pioneers of public health. And he was a truly multidisciplinary man in the days before that term even existed. Chadwick perceived the links between poverty and disease and saw that health is more than just a purely biomedical issue. Much of his career was spent fighting against those who seemed indifferent or resistant to public health improvement by carefully using empirical evidence to make the case for reform. In many ways, Richard Horton has sought to do the same in our own age. Like Chadwick, Richard has lived a busy life in many guises, and the Edwin Chadwick Medal is the latest award in a highly distinguished and decorated career. Richard qualified in physiology and medicine with honors from the University of Birmingham, 1986, and then joined The Lancet in 1990, moving to New York as North American editor in 1993. He was the first president of the World Association of Medical Editors. He's an honorary professor here at our school, as well at UCL and at the University of Oslo, the country of his father. Last year, he chaired the expert group for the High-Level Commission on Health, Employment and Economic Growth, convened by Presidents Hollande and Zuma. And from 2011 to 2015, he was co-chair of the UN's Independent Expert Review Group on Information and Accountability for Women's and Children's Health, an area where our school is also very active in. Richard has written 2 reports for the Royal College of Physicians, Doctors in Society and Innovating for Health. And he wrote Health Wars about contemporary issues in medicine and health. He also writes regularly for the New York Review of Books and the Times Literary Supplement, a true uomo universale. And in 2011 he was elected a Foreign Associate of the U.S. National Academy of Medicine. He's also fellow of the Academy of Medical Sciences here. Now, Richard has a strong interest in global health and medicine's contribution to our wider culture. And he's passionate about planetary health, the health of human civilizations and the ecosystems on which they depend, which are increasingly precarious. Richard has not been afraid to take on some of the most controversial and intractable issues in modern medicine and global health. And he has turned the Lancet into the premier platform, if not megaphone, for global health, including through a series of multidisciplinary commissions addressing the major health problems of our time and bringing together experts from around the world. Richard is exactly the kind of advocate we need in these challenging times to make sure that health remains at the top of the agenda and that the voices of science and evidence continue to make themselves heard in the debate. Finally, Richard is a great friend and supporter of LSHTM, as illustrated by the very popular Global Health Laboratory debates he hosts here with Professor Martin McKee. And we can see him now and then hiding in our library. I don't know when you're probably fed up with what's going on in your office. We're delighted you're here to join us at graduation, Richard, as an inspiring leader and role model for our students. My warmest congratulations to you once again. Dame Marjorie, I request you to confirm the Edwin Chadwick Medal upon Dr. Richard Horton.
Thank you so much. I should call you Professor Piot, not Peter. But thank you, Peter, and thank you, Dame Marjorie. It's actually a crushing irony that an editor of a journal founded in 1823 by Thomas Wackley finds himself immensely grateful to the school and to the life and achievements of Edwin Chadwick. Why a crushing irony? Because Edwin Chadwick and Thomas Wackley, my revered predecessor, were sworn and implacable enemies. My appreciation today is therefore also my betrayal. Wackley was a surgeon, a radical, a man who wanted to puncture the power of an aristocratic and corrupt medical profession. It's changed so much, hasn't it? Chadwick was a lawyer, a defender of the progress brought about by the Industrial Revolution, a man who wanted to impose order in society at a time of profound political instability. According to Christopher Hamlin, who's written The History of Public Health and Social Justice in the Age of Chadwick, Chadwick was a humorless, domineering, single-minded man with no sense of proportion. Anne Hardy, an honorary professor here at the school, has written that Chadwick succeeded because he fought dirty, because he misrepresented evidence, selected suggestive cases, suppressed views he didn't share, juggled statistics, and applied science or superstition as seemed most appropriate in arguing his case. These attributes, which eventually defeated Wackley, are not regarded as virtues in public health today, and it's unlikely, at least I hope it's unlikely, that they are taught here at the school today. But they do at least suggest correctly that translating evidence into action may not be the rational, moral, principled, honorable, decent, respectable, commendable, admirable, pure, or even angelic process that we would like to believe. Chadwick is credited, together with the likes of John Snow and William Farr, as being one of the founders of public health. But Chadwick's true achievement was not only practical, his sewers, his drains, and his clean water systems. His breakthrough was conceptual. The tight connection between health and the environment. Traditional medicine in the mid-19th century sought to defend disease as the sole cause of ill health. More radical writers such as Farr and Wackley sought to tie health to poverty, destitution and starvation. But for Chadwick, health was about filth, polluted air, fetid water, festering landscapes, decomposing animal and vegetable matter in our streets and decrepit housing. Whereas Wackley stood for a political medicine, Chadwick advocated political economy, focusing on the health of working men to garner the dividends of capitalism. Wackley was a humanitarian, wonderfully well-meaning, but with no credible policy or program. Chadwick was a utilitarian. Early in his career, he was Jeremy Bentham's secretary. Chadwick preferred the calculations of cost-effectiveness to the righteous, vainglorious ideas of compassion. The history of health since Chadwick has been a persistent tacking, largely productive, between these two positions. Today, Chadwick's association of human health to the environment is once again a political concern, but it is now globalized from public health, as Peter has said, to planetary health, the health of human civilizations and the ecosystems on which they depend. Planetary health draws the coordinates for a new epoch. Climate change, but so much more than climate change. The loss of our precious plant and animal biodiversity on which our ecological resources and resilience depend. The scarcity of critical social and cultural reserves for living. The fragility of our food systems. The production of a mass of materials that are irreversibly reshaping our lives. The consumption of things that seduce our appetites and assuage our alienation from authenticity. Human migration and the growing unstoppable forces of displacement. Mental health, not as a pathology of mind or thought, but as an interdependent ecology of mind, society, and the environment. The introduction of time as a variable by which to judge equity and justice, and the limits of our imagination to redescribe our futures. The challenge for institutions of knowledge in the age of planetary health, institutions such as this school, is threefold. First, discovery, of course, but discovery at the interface of orthodoxy, in the misty and mysterious interstices of accepted fact. The interdisciplinarity that this demands is often cited, but rarely achieved. It is fear, vanity, and hubris that builds walls. It takes courage to tear those walls down. Second meaning, the accumulation of knowledge is not enough. Data alone are not our destiny. Volume of publications is not value. Meaning is something you make for yourselves. Meaning is constructed out of your experiences, out of hard thinking about facts and values. And third, purpose. What is your personal answer to the question, why? It might be an encounter, a moment, a feeling, a faith, a person, an emotion, or an inspiration. But whatever it is, define it, protect it, recall it every single day, because it will sustain you during times of anxiety and despair. The challenge for instruments of knowledge such as The Lancet is to remember that scholarly publishing at its best is a catalyst for social transformation. Transformation towards more just and equitable societies. Much of academic publishing today has sadly either forgotten or chooses to ignore this Enlightenment heritage. And I say this on the exact day, March the 6th, 352 years ago in 1665, when the first issue of the first scientific journal, Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society, was published, at the birth of the Enlightenment. Those of us who serve the communication of ideas must repeatedly recommit ourselves to the social and political advantages of knowledge, to address the predicaments facing our societies and to improve the lives of citizens in those societies. We cannot achieve those objectives alone, only through extraordinary partnerships. And by defending and realizing Milton's stirring plea, give me the liberty to know, to utter, and to argue freely according to conscience above all other liberties. On this, I think Edwin Chadwick and Thomas Wackley, old and uncompromising adversaries, would have found agreement, peace, and common purpose together. Thank you so much.
Richard, thank you very much for that inspiring but also beautifully crafted speech. I would now like to call upon Fazana Kaladi-Putampurel, President of the Students' Representative Council, to say a few words on behalf of the student body. Fazana.
Good morning to everyone gathered here today. As President of the Students' Representative Council and on behalf of the student body, it is with great pride that I stand before you today to congratulate and honor the graduating students of LSHTM 2015-16 as you begin on your change-making paths through the world of healthcare. Over the past 6 months, I've noticed something quite unique at LSHTM. Nearly everyone here has a dream to save the world. As idealistic as this dream may seem, I believe it is this very passion that has brought the school to where we stand in the world today. I believe, as students of the school, we share its mission to improve health and health equity in the UK and worldwide, working in partnership to achieve excellence in public and global health research, education, and translation of knowledge into policy and practice. On behalf of the current students of LSHTM, I would like to thank you, dear seniors, for carrying our school's mantle so honorably and wish you the very best in all your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Fazana. We now come to the presentation of today's graduates. Dame Marjorie, the documents we ask you to present on behalf of Council, the governing body of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, recognise and celebrate the academic achievements of its students. Representatives from each faculty will present to you the master's degree students who qualified for a degree in the academic session 2015-16. I call upon Professor David Maybe to come forward and present the master's degree graduates from the Faculty of Infectious Diseases and Public Health, Tropical Health. Professor Maybe.
Thank you, Professor Mills.